This is Back to Back.
Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Willy Joy, and welcome to Back to Back. You already know what it is. This is my podcast. How are you? How's everybody feeling? I'm feeling great, man. Beautiful outside, feeling the summertime vibes. And I'm feeling especially good because my guest on the show today is Gesture. I love this dude, just one of the most fun, positive, interesting people in dance music. Always pushing new, creative sounds. He's just one of those guys you're really glad to have around. Gesture has a new single out right now called Tiguere on Insomniac Records, and his new remix for Valentino Khan's Lick It also just dropped on Spinnin'. So he's crushing it right now, and he's got a lot more to go. We're going to get into that in just a minute. Before we do, I want to make sure everybody caught this announcement. Every Wednesday night, I now have a radio show on SiriusXM. It's called Back to Back Radio. And really, if you've been a listener of this podcast for a long time, this show is for you. I take clips from the interviews I do here. I splice them into the radio show. The rest of it is a 60-minute long mix with music for myself, all the guests you hear on Back to Back, new music, classics, everything related to the discussions that I'm having here. And man, the feedback has been crazy. People are loving it. I feel very lucky about that. I'm working really hard on it, and I want to make sure everybody out here goes and checks it out. In the meantime, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast. Make sure to leave us a rating and a review, and make sure to stay in touch, man. My email is backtobackpod@gmail.com. You can reach out to me with any questions, any comments, any concerns about the show, about your own life, about anything that's going on. You can also hit me up at Willy Joy or at backtobackpod on all social media. So for this conversation with Gesture, I met up at his apartment out in East LA. Awesome little area, not an area I'd spent much time in. I really caught a vibe over there, and it fit him really well for his personality, the kind of music he's making. The whole thing felt great. A couple things to note. We recorded this interview on April 20th, aka 420. So there's a little weed talk in there. And on another note, this was either the day after, or maybe it was even the day when we found out that Avici had passed away. And that was weighing really heavily on my mind that day. So we ended up talking about that and kind of just having a discussion that branched off of all those issues for a little bit as well. So I just wanted to give you guys a little context for the start of this conversation, because all of those events had definitely thrown me off a little bit, and it wouldn't have felt right if we hadn't talked about it on that day. All of that being said, I think it ended up actually being an amazing conversation. He's been grinding for a long time, and it seems like in the last 6 to 12 months, he's really caught some traction. The buzz is going crazy. He's touring all over, putting out release after release. His new record called Tiguere is out on Insomniac Records right now, and I just got sent his remix of Valentino Khan's Lick It, which is a crazy record, out on Spinnin'. So he's out there, man. And he's got so many more plans to share with all of you. I'm going to let him tell you about it. If you don't already know him and love him, you definitely will after you finish this podcast. So let's get into it. This is me and Gesture, back to back. Let's go. Happy 420, bro.
I am, for those of you who are listening, which is everyone, I am sparking a joint.
Some nice Foley work there.
Put that in stereo.
Yeah. We are recording this on 420. And you're a bit of a weed enthusiast, right?
I am a bit of a weed enthusiast.
A weed scholar.
I'm close to a scholar. I dropped out of weed school, but
but that's like, I feel like in weed school you're encouraged to drop out.
It's like that's the real graduation. No, I do really enjoy weed though. I don't know. everyone struggles with anxiety and depression, and I find that weed is a good tool for me, at least.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, like it's a good like instant fix for me, especially when I'm really feeling some heat.
Right.
But as with any vice, it gets carried away sometimes. So
well, that's my question, and I ask this as somebody who's not a weed guy at all. Does it ever get to the point where you're leaning on it too, or have you ever gotten to the point where you felt like you're leaning on it too much?
Yeah, big time. I mean, I guess it's more of like it's an easy habit to get into. It's like smoking a cigarette too. Like I enjoy smoking as well. Just the act of smoking, rolling up, like the what is it, like the ritual of it is like pleasing for me too. So yeah, like I'll find myself, there'll be weeks or a couple times in a row I'll smoke like right when I wake up, and then like maybe not as productive those 2 days. So I do put myself in check every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I'm also not the kind of person who's like goes to China and I'm like, where the fuck can I find some weed? Like,
right.
This is crazy. I don't know what to do. Like, I can go without it.
Yeah. You're decent at moderation.
For sure.
Yeah. It can be tough, man. This industry, for what we do, not only is it high anxiety, high stress a lot of the time, but it's almost encouraged that you do, lean on a substance, or you do something that in the end might not be the healthiest thing if you don't keep it in check. And I was thinking about this, kind of sadly, because I heard about Avici passing away earlier this morning, and just thinking about, that ours is kind of one of the only industries that encourages those behaviors so much and rewards those behaviors so much. And it's, I never know what to think about it, man, because I'm not sober. I'm far from an angel, but it's scary shit, man.
Yeah, I just got off my first, I was on the road for 2 months on a bus with Keizo, and
how was that?
It was great. I mean, I loved the experience. I was with DJ Gammer, Dubloads, 4B. The crew was awesome. Like we were a little squad. It was awesome. But yeah, I found myself, especially the bus life, because it's your new home for a while, and you
there's
have
no
a bunk.
responsibilities.
Yeah,
really.
There's no responsibilities. You wake up in a different city. It's like I can either explore this city, chill on the bus. Nothing was like dramatically bad partying, but I found myself drinking every day for a little while, and I was like, oh, like I don't feel good. I got sick. I don't really I don't drink casually unless I'm DJing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely. Currently, especially, I'm finding myself trying to find balance and all that stuff. And, just like...
Well, because it's so easy, you play a show and it's like you just have a couple drinks because that's what you do at the show. Right. And at least for me, I don't even think about it. And then if you do that 30 days in a row,
Exactly. It would just be like a couple beers. Not only was I drinking too much, but like consuming like 3 or 4 beers, and like that's like 2,000 calories or something like at the end of the night. Yeah, so all in all, terrible for your health, especially every night. Yeah,
well, people don't... people forget about the calories in alcohol, too. That was big for me. Like, I used to be a lot heavier. I dropped a bunch of weight, and part of it was that I switched up, A, how much I was drinking, and B, what I was drinking, because you come to realize, certain mixed drinks are like 400 calories.
Yeah, you're drinking like a bunch of soda.
Right, and
if it's like alcohol...
and,
I saw this funny meme once. It was like, do you want this Diet Coke? It was like, no, that's disgusting. Or like, you're disgusting for drinking soda. It's like, how about a Coke and whiskey? It's like, oh yeah, like let's hit 10, yeah, right. Like I literally, that's me. Like I hate soda. I will never drink soda. But like, if that's the only chaser around, like load me up. Let's have 3 sodas like in an hour,
Yeah, it's nuts, dude.
I actually did start drinking tequila soda water, or like tequila water. Even I'll just be like, there's no soda, I'll just use a water.
I do that with vodka, man. Yeah, that's the key.
Yeah, but still, like, and then as DJs, we get a fucking bottle of liquor. Right. Here's your bottle of liquor for the night.
For you.
For the night. Yeah. You're not gonna take this home. I've actually started to take some home.
Right.
But yeah, that's a huge problem I have. Like, you get a bottle of liquor. Like, you don't even measure your drinks.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's a different kind of partying.
And it's easy to see how, if you're somebody who's already predisposed to that kind of thing, or if you're just somebody who's going through a tough time in your life, anything like that, how easy it could be to slip into a bad place. Fuck, dude, Avici, it really bummed me out, and I never even met the guy, but obviously hugely influential guy and
Same.
producer and super talented, but I just think about, he had all these public struggles with alcohol and drugs and all that, and he did what he was supposed to do, right? Like he took a step back and was working on it. And then at the time of this recording, there's no details. We don't know really what happened, but it seems like probably some complication of that came back. And man, it's just so sad.
It's a good topic to even start on because my life right now, I'm finding the balance for me right now as a human. Like I just did, last summer was the first time that I wasn't heavily touring, but it was the first time I was really, really considered touring. I went to Asia and India, and I was before that I did a bunch of shows. So coming back from that, it was such a high. And then coming back, I found myself more depressed than I'd ever been. I was in the studio working with people, feeling sad, and I'm okay, this isn't because I don't love music, but I need to figure out what it is. So that was when I first started picking up more exercise, every morning, going on a hike if I could, going to the gym more, eating better, getting more sleep. That's such an important part. I think people don't even really think about that. Drinking enough water. Not enough people drink enough water.
Not at all. Not at all.
A lot of people don't drink water.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. There's a lack of awareness, I think, and education. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a DJ class on how to stay healthy, but
no,
I think we need to talk more at least about it.
Exactly, man, and try to at least take care of each other a little more.
Of course. It's just that's the same thing with any human. DJs definitely have a lot more, we're talking about drinking and the stress, and you don't settle down very much. So there's definitely different kinds of mental strain, but I feel every person is dealing with some kind of mental strain, and it's talking about it and becoming more aware of it and how to fix it physically with your body, with sleep. Everyone's sad sometimes, I think there's this cool thing about depression right now on the internet, but I think it's fair to say everyone gets depressed. It's okay to say that, and it's not because you're ill. Maybe it's because you just need to switch some things up.
Right, exactly, and be more aware of your situation. Be more present. Yeah, I feel you, and you're right that there is kind of. I think this has always existed, that making depression sexy thing. Yeah. Or I've had that. I've wondered that in my own life. I'm if I get to a better mental state, will I still be able to make cool art? That kind of stuff. Yeah. It's super fucked up because then when you do take care of yourself, you're actually way better at whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's
but
weird.
I guess people create art in different ways too. And some people like to be depressed in dark rooms, and they like to stay up all night. And personally, I'm the opposite. So I'm trying to make working on music more like a 9 to 5, and just discipline myself, because that's the only way I'm going to sustain this,
Exactly, man. Yeah. And it's also what fits your lifestyle at the time, right?
Totally, yeah.
What
true.
works for you at 18 is not going to work for you at 25, is not going to work for you at 35. Mm-hmm. You got to keep progressing as a human if you want to keep your art progressing too, I think.
Totally.
Well, fuck, man. I mean, we'll move on from this, but I just want to say, because I had this thought driving over, Levels. Is that the best EDM song of all time? Arguably,
it's it was before it was called EDM. No, I feel it was the first EDM song or something.
Maybe it was
I'm definitely wrong, but at least in my mind, dude, Levels remix by me, or it wasn't called Levels, I don't think. Maybe it was. I did a remix of The Good Feeling, that shit.
Yeah.
That was my first uploaded track as Gesture, yeah.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, it was some shitty kind of electro house, it was very...
But still.
But that was my first, that, it definitely means a lot to me, yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Well, R.I.P., man. It's always sad, but I'm like you said, I'm glad it's brought us to talk about it more.
Yeah. I think everyone needs to be more. I think people think they're aware of it. Depression is real, but have you really cracked, what it is in you that what needs more feeding, what needs more love inside of you to not feel sad?
From?
Yeah.
When you mentioned you had just gotten off this long tour, Was that your first like bus tour,
Yeah.
like that kind of experience?
My first bus tour.
How
yeah.
was it, man? I mean, we already said good shows, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was cool, man. It was a learning experience for sure. But I snapped right into it. Like,
Yeah.
I took a couple days off back home, and that felt like not home.
Right.
Just for the 2 days. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I got to see my girlfriend and like hang out. It was awesome. But like, the bus definitely becomes your home, and you become a
It's
family.
like a weird little bubble, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
How'd the crowds react to what you were doing? Was it, obviously you play at, raves and festivals all the time, but I feel like, those crowds for Keizo, expecting like hard as nails kind of stuff.
Yeah.
How did what you do go over?
I adjust accordingly. Like, I consider myself a DJ in the truest sense. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna force feed anybody anything they don't want to hear. But at the same time, I've been, adjusting my music for this crowd more or less. Anyways,
Right.
I mean, there's a difference between playing a rave, or I don't even call them raves. So what am I saying? A festival,
Right.
and a club. And my club sets will always be what they, more clubby vibe. But yeah, I've been adjusting my sets for like festival kind of crowd. And still I get heat, of course. Like, I've seen some hate for sure. But I mean, if people who don't like it, I think they're just like in their own head too much.
Yeah, yeah. Well, genre purists to me are always just the most.
Yeah.
If you're that close-minded about music, I probably don't want to talk to you about music anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been definitely a genre purist before in my life. So I know where it's coming from. It's just like you feel like an authority on something, and you're like, this is the only real thing.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, and you are, in a good way, I think, an authority on a lot of styles of music that don't have strong representation in
Yeah.
the dance music world. And so I think that's a really positive spin on it. And which kind of leads me to ask, one of the main things I always wonder is, you were born in New Hampshire, right?
Yeah.
And grew up in the New England-y area.
Yeah, New Hampshire.
So
Born and raised.
how do you get turned on to these tropical sounds? Like, how does that even reach you growing up in New Hampshire? Or did it even reach you at that time?
Well, first it reached me through just pop music, and like my ear was always drawn to stuff, even if I didn't know it was more dance hall-y, like Missy Elliott, Timbaland, like all of their little dance hall twists on hip hop. And like when Sean Paul came on the radio and pop music, like I was being fed like the tail end of cool pop music too. So because it's New Hampshire.
Like what,
So-
late or mid 2000s?
Yeah, I guess so.
Early 2000s?
I'm just saying we would only catch like the bits of what's coming off of cool pop music. Like,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
versus LA, like all the cool shit like pops here.
Right.
And then wherever it goes, wherever it makes it, New Hampshire's the furthest place. But also I kind of had this experience like growing up. It's kind of a long story, but my family runs a nonprofit children's safety foundation.
Okay.
So as a kid, I would like help out with that. And we would end up in like projects in like Lowell, Massachusetts, and like mostly Massachusetts, different places, but like suburbs of Boston. And like I would be at like a community day, but like everyone's Spanish speaking people there. So like I think like the DJs there played a lot of like reggaeton and like stuff like that. I didn't know, but I just liked it more, or it was more interesting to me.
Yeah.
And like even my dad like would go through the radio stations sometimes, and like if a Spanish station came on, he would like let it hang for a little while, and we'd all kind of be like, why? But like still like I don't know, like
Did your dad speak Spanish?
no. Like my dad is whiter than me. Like
Yeah.
it kind of just like it always was in my life somehow,
Yeah.
even though I didn't know what it was, I
You
guess.
just always gravitated towards
Yeah,
it.
I definitely. And yeah, so I mean, eventually when it came time I was a DJ and looking at new music. I mean, Moombahton, like even just like through electro house that had more like a dembo snare,
Yeah.
that's where it started. I was like, oh yeah, I really like this.
Was that nonprofit, was that kind of like the family business?
Yeah, it was exactly. I mean, it was like all I did growing up on the weekends, pretty much.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Well, that must have been an eye-opening experience for,
Totally.
a way to sort of break out of what you would typically think of as kind of just like a white New Hampshire childhood.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time, like I said, in like lower income areas too,
Right.
like outreach kind of stuff. So yeah, I wasn't like I mean, I guess I was sheltered. I don't know what I'm saying, but I wasn't. I was pretty sheltered as a kid, but I wasn't.
I mean, good childhood.
Yeah, good childhood.
Upbringing.
Yeah. I mean, I was always kind of pissed I had to work for my family all the time, but it wasn't like it wasn't bad. My parents are amazing. I mean, I owe like being a musician to them. Like they got me a drum set when I was in second grade, and
oh wow,
like piano and drum lessons all as a kid, and like
I always think that's ballsy when parents get their kids a drum set.
Yeah, I say that first because that is like I remember one time I like made my dad watch me play through like a whole song. I was listening to a song on a CD, and I was like, Dad, watch, I learned all the drums to this song, and I was probably like 13 or something, like playing along to like Coldplay in my earphones, and he just heard the beat and he had to sit there and listen to me. Like those special moments, you know, like, that matters.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's a good dad, right?
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they've been so supportive of my music forever.
What kind of was it Coldplay you were into? Like what were you into as a kid?
Well, actually my dad was really into the song Clocks. I remember it was that song.
Okay.
Because I was like trying to impress him, I think.
Right.
But was I into Coldplay? They were okay. When I was a kid, like at that age, 13, I was really into ska music. Like I saw a bunch of ska bands live. And then like sophomore year of high school, I was on this torrent site called Waffles. And like I had a
shout out to Waffles.
Yeah.
You just took me back with that one.
I know. Oink was Oink before Waffles or after?
I think Oink was after Waffles, and then it was What CD after that.
I was on What for a little bit, but I like destroyed my ratio and got kicked off.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what like internet service providers started blocking my upload when I was like I didn't know how to bypass it, so then I got anyways. Nerd talk. I hope you can relate if you're listening.
Well, I mean, if you're in New Hampshire and that's your main outlet for discovering music, like these BitTorrent
it was important,
sites.
Yeah. Anyway, so I would get like the top 10, which would have some stuff on it that was cool, like the top 10 most popular torrents. It was never like pop music. It was like cool music, just different stuff. Like I saw dubstep, the word dubstep for the first time on that. You know, I also had a buddy who would have me download music for him. Actually, he's a DJ now, JavaScript. I'm not sure if you're familiar. He's in the Philly area.
I don't think I know that.
Shout out Javis. But he was like a couple grades older than me, and we had music composition together. And I'd be like, dude, I can get you some music. Like, just write down what you want. So I'd like download cool music that he knew and have it on my computer. And I'd fell in love with like a lot of the stuff which was like Ghostly International record labels. Like I was really obsessed with as a kid, and then, or not a kid, but preteen, teenager, and just like really like down tempo, like hip hoppy, electronic weird stuff, echoey fucking clicks and bloop sounds, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I would like turn the lights off in my room and like sit in my bed before I smoked weed.
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Before I smoked weed. Actually, I used to like light incense too. My mom thought I smoked weed when I didn't smoke weed. Yeah.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I would like to vibe out. Like that was my musical vibe.
And were you playing instruments all throughout your childhood as well?
Yeah, I was in like
stuck with
school
drums
band. Yeah, I was actually like always kind of like told I was gifted, even though it was just like because I went to Catholic school and not a lot of people, I think. Because I mean, I was good, but it definitely wasn't like. Whatever.
Yeah,
I got to play in like the upper band when I was still in like second grade or whatever.
Right,
so
right.
I always had this experience of being like better than I was supposed to be growing up with music. Probably why I didn't practice very much.
Well, that can be a weird experience too, right? Because eventually you figure out where you really fit in the world. Like I had that experience with math in high school. Like I was always in like the super advanced math classes, all of that. And then my senior year of high school, we started doing like college level work, and it was just the limit. And I all of a sudden, like I didn't get it.
It was like a math pun. It was the limit. No, sorry.
That's yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that one.
Sorry, I had to say it.
But no, I couldn't hang anymore.
Yeah.
And then I realized that even though I had been told I was so good at math all these years, that in reality I was just like okay at math,
like a little better
in the global scheme.
Yeah. Anyways, that was kind of my experience. Yeah, growing up in school bands. But then I started a band with friends. Maybe like when I was 14, it was more like pop punk. I played the synth and I sang. I wasn't playing drums.
Okay.
There's like better drummers than me. This is where I started to realize I wasn't the best drummer.
Right.
I played synth and sang. was like the lead singer guy in this pop punk band. And then I did like an auto-tuned pop music thing out of high school into my first year in college.
And where'd you go to college?
Well, I went to Hofstra University for like one semester, and I was doing that still. And my friend got a machine, a Native Instruments machine, and he was making like sample-based hip-hop beats on that.
Yeah.
So I got really into that. I was like 20 years old, and I was just doing in Fruity Loops, sample-based hip-hop beats. And rapping, actually, too. I just did like an interview with this girl, and she had like the rap song that I made. I don't know.
Oh, shit.
I don't know if I talked about it. I guess I had talked about it in another interview, but yeah. So
she like pulled a Nardwar on
yeah,
you?
literally, she pulled a Nardwar. Yeah, she had read every interview I think I'd ever done or something. Like it was pretty good. But yeah, and so I was doing like hip hop, rap. And then I went to a music festival, Identity Festival. It was like a touring music festival. There was no EDM in my area in New Hampshire, still Massachusetts. So this thing came. I had just kind of found out about Rusko, and Pro Nails remix was like a huge song for me. So, which I still play in my sets a lot. So then me and my buddy were like, let's go to this music festival and check it out. And I ran into a friend. He's like, do you want some acid?
Oh.
And I was like, yeah. So I took some acid at this music festival. And then I saw Cascade headline. And it was like that moment where I was like, I think I want to be a DJ.
Right.
And I was like, this is cool. This is like a mass movement of people,
together.
you know? It's just like, this is big. Like, this is a sick thing. I love loud electronic bass music.
Right.
I love performing. So
and
that was like
already
the
been
moment.
Dabbling with, production, right?
Yeah, I sucked so bad at like synths, and like I was like, I didn't know how to even just production stuff. I could make hip hop beats, but sometimes they were too loud, sometimes they were too quiet. Like I didn't really know what a limiter was. But yeah, that was kind of the turning point. I was like, and that was around when I made that Levels remix too. Like that was probably like a few months later that I made that Levels remix.
Okay.
So it was like, that's the timeline of my musical history for you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How long did you keep rapping for? Or did you kind of just drop that once you started?
Yeah, I kind of just dropped that. Me and my buddy spent all of high school freestyle rapping in his car, smoking weed.
Right.
So I just loved it. It was like, yeah, I was really into it. But yeah, I just dropped it.
I wanted to be a rapper when I was in college, man.
Yeah.
I feel like every white boy of a certain age goes through that.
I know. I kind of felt unique, but then I realized a lot of my fellow EDM producers also did like hip hop beats. That was like their kind of first introduction into producing.
Sure.
So yeah, we all kind of follow a similar.
Well, there's all these connections, man. It's such a small world once you get into it. You were talking about like the Rusko Pro Nails remix, and like I came up in Chicago, and I was Kid Sister's DJ for years, and so like I know that song better than I know like my own songs because we played it so much, and it is still an incredible song.
Yeah, I have to like boost the bass all the way when I play it on the mixer, but it's still great.
You should make just a bass boosted version.
Nice. I'm gonna make a bass boost. I'm gonna post it to YouTube.
No, don't do that.
No, I need to do that. You're right. I did that with Gasolina because I'd be playing like raves, and then I'd put on the original Gasolina, and it just doesn't stand up. And like the people who like Gasolina are down, but then like the people who don't are really pissed.
It's tough, man, because dance music production wise, it's like a arms race, right?
Yeah.
It's like we're working with weapons grade sound, and everybody is outdoing everybody else every second of the day.
How'd they do that? You're like trying to
like
get the secret
pristine,
plans.
loudest, clearest sounds.
Yeah.
But then you go back and you want to play some other amazing songs, and it can actually be really hard just because the sonic quality doesn't stand up, even if it's the most amazing sound in the world, song in the world.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was listening to Linkin Park Hybrid Theory recently, actually. And I'm like obsessed with the production on that album. First of all, it's like my favorite album of all time anyways.
Yo, that album slaps.
For some reason, like it's so perfect. Like the writers and producers, all of not just the band, but everything about that album was put together so well.
Yeah.
But even like
there was nothing else like it at the time too. I think like you got to put it in context because it's easy to go back and be like, rap rock, blah, blah, blah. But at the time, there was nothing else like that. That was a crazy album to make.
And that was a super influential album for me too, because I was in 5th grade I didn't know shit. And that MP3 player just came out then too. So like it's this weird time, but I still had the Hybrid Theory CD.
Yeah.
But this weird time of music. And like that's like when I first heard hybrid music at all. Like all my music's hybrid now. So like I think that had a huge influence. There's rap, rock, screaming.
Just the idea to mix those things, right?
Yeah.
Something we take for granted now.
Yeah. And like they had Mr. Hahn, they're like scratch turntablist, which that like scratching in rock music is what made me get turntables.
Really?
When I was like 13. And I never even learned how to mix songs. Like I didn't even really know. Like I just knew turntables were like, you know what I mean? That's another thing. My parents fucking got me turntables once, like not like Stanton's or something.
Yeah.
Just to like try to learn how to DJ. Like, so huge influence for sure.
Right. And when you went to college, what did you think you were going to be doing? Were you going for music right away?
When I first went to college, I was going for film because I spent the last 2 years of high school in like this career-based kind of program where we would do TV production and stuff. One of those, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my teacher was amazing. He was like a huge mentor for me. And he would work like part-time for NBC. So he'd take me on like cool shoots. He would give me like opportunities to actually feel like I was like working. So I was super into that and I wanted to do film. And I got the Hofstra for film. First of all, I had like a decent scholarship, but I was paying a lot still.
Yeah.
And then like I got to film classes and I was just not feeling like that. It was just like the introductory classes, like super obvious information. And I was like, nah. So after a semester of that, I just got out of it.
What did you move on to do?
So then I was like, well, whatever I do with my life, I'm going to want to do it by myself. So I was like, I should get a business degree and learn how to do business. Do business.
Do business.
Listen to me. So as you can tell with me saying do business, I didn't like that either. I had like accounting and like management classes, which I didn't like either. So then I was like, all right, I should do music since that's what I really love.
Right.
Or I was going to try to do music management because this is around the time I was doing hip hop music.
Right.
So like maybe I should do some kind of music thing. So I ended up just doing percussion, which was like my main instrument growing up. So I started taking drum lessons and doing like all the music courses. And then I switched schools again and got a degree finally. Classical percussion with like a music technology focus.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what school was that?
Keene State College in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say classical percussion, does that mean like orchestral?
Yeah, like timpani. I had to do snare drum, marimba. It's like the focus is like snare drum, marimba, maybe a little timpani. Yeah, like you would do like juries for like teachers, and they would rate you on.
Wow, that's
on
interesting.
Those things. Yeah, I could play 4-mallet marimba at one point. I probably kind of suck at it now. But
damn, that's hard to do. Too.
Yeah,
I know people who do that. That's hard.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And were you playing in orchestras? Were you doing classical music at the time?
I would like be in the school stuff you had to be in. But like that was also the time where I was getting like starting to DJ and like actually get notoriety. So I was like so detached from like wanting to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So
it's got to be an interesting dichotomy to have, go to school during the day and play the classical music and then go play, crazy DJ
I mean,
music
it was
at
just
night.
like a bunch of band geeks and like it wasn't anything like crazy. Like I love all those people and everyone knew what I was doing. So I kind of got away with it. The teachers, the cool ones would just like know that I'm doing pretty well and I'm like achieving my music technology degree didn't really teach me anything. It was very basic.
Yeah.
It was like it wasn't like a good course for that. So yeah, they all kind of knew I was like doing the music thing. Like if a music teacher stops you from doing that, then they're not a good music teacher,
Yes,
you know?
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I had a very similar experience in my college because it was a music with a focus on technology, more or less degree, and the kind of music I wanted to do was not at all supported there.
Yeah.
And what they were teaching me wasn't particularly useful. But again, great teachers and super supportive, even though they really didn't understand what I wanted to do. So they would kind of give me leeway to, make my little projects the way I wanted to make them. And then I'd hand them in and they'd almost like admit to me that they didn't know how to evaluate it.
That's cool.
Be like, oh, well, this it's really interesting how you put a beat there.
Yeah, I had a really good like percussion instructor who would kind of like let me not practice. Like I was talking, like I would come into the lesson and be like, yeah, so like honestly, this is the
takeaway lesson from this podcast: is don't practice.
Nah,
kids.
practice. God damn, I wish I practiced. If I just got the discipline to practice when I was like fucking 7.
Yeah.
I wish I could play piano.
Right?
I took so many piano lessons in my life. Come on. Like, I suck at piano. I'm not even good at it.
I know, man. And it's crazy to think how much your career now would change if you could flawlessly play the piano.
Yeah.
You know?
I would definitely be more musically... I don't know really how much would it change. I like everything I make is sample based. So
I'm not talking about like level of success, but just in terms of, for me, artistic fulfillment. There's so many times I wish I could just sit down and play exactly what I wanted.
Okay, yeah, totally.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. Luckily, I have my girlfriend. She's pretty good with that. So I'm like, what's this? How do I do this?
That's important, man.
She can like play chords, like read chords and play them. So that's like,
yeah.
She's good in my book.
And you were saying when you were in college towards the end of it, that was when your productions had actually started to get out there and you were starting to become known as Gesture.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'd be what, like 2012, 2013, 14 in that neighborhood?
Yeah, exactly. 2012, 2013, yeah.
So how did that start exactly? I mean, you said the Levels remix was the first thing you ever put online.
Yeah.
Where did you put it? Was SoundCloud?
Yeah, SoundCloud. Yeah. That didn't go anywhere, just like locally, because there was like a dance music night in my town, Nashua, New Hampshire, which was really lucky for me, honestly, because I
played a rave in Nashua.
Oh yeah, there's
like
a few,
really, really early on.
Yeah, there's some people. Terra Vita also told me that there was raves up in Nashua because they're from Massachusetts.
Back in the day, there's a long time.
Yeah, well, so those guys who got older started touring a night in Nashua, probably. Called Symmetry, and so that was like my first DJ gig, and that was around that time too. So that was when I turned 21 and I started DJing that. So that's like 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was your experience, posting online? Did it take, or did it catch on pretty quickly? Like, what was the first thing you put up that really people seemed to notice?
I think this song called Make It Drop, which is probably still like on YouTube or something. It was like a trap song.
Okay.
With the Bro Safari, Lex Luger really layered clap thing. It was like had that clap on it. It was like that kind of trap song.
Right.
So that got posted on Trap Network or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Remember that?
I know. Yeah, I know exactly what.
And
you
it
mean.
was like in the top 5 best Trap Network songs. Like at that time, I was like, oh, sick! Like,
and that was at the time kind of a big deal.
It felt like a big deal. Yeah. So that was part of like, I was making trap music basically. I would do I did electro house for a little bit and then trap basically.
And was your early stuff influenced by, tropical global stuff at all, or was it more Americanized to start with?
I think it was still influenced. Like I said, like the electro house that would have like the dembo. I would always want to be original. That was the main driving factor, I think, is be original and do something different. So I would always try to include that in my sounds and even make it drop. Is it called Make It Drop or Make It Bounce? It's hilarious because that's
it could be
both
both.
Are very generic names.
Yeah.
But if that song, I remember I put I didn't even know it was Jersey Club kick pattern, but
right.
I put that on the intro because I wanted it to be hybrid, like I was saying, So I'd always kind of try to throw in something different.
That was always a goal, is to
totally
combine styles and ideas. Yeah.
And I was doing it pretty ignorantly, I didn't really know.
You weren't trying to be like anyone necessarily or fit in with a certain sound.
Yeah.
Just, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And, from there, was this pre-Moombahton?
No, this is post Moombahton.
Okay.
Not literally, but it came and went, or trap took over basically. I feel like trap kind of pushed it aside.
Yeah, no, it totally did.
And that's when I started making trap basically. And that I had known Moombahton songs, but I first of all I sucked at making Moombahton. To be frank, I couldn't do it. I didn't get it really.
Yeah.
So at first, I didn't try as much. That's when I was really starting to make twerk music. But before that is the Zouk bass stuff, which is important.
Talk about Zouk bass for a minute, because I think probably there's a lot of listeners who don't know about the Zouk bass thing.
Yeah, I guess I wonder how I first came upon it. Maybe like Do Androids Dance, maybe.
One of the great blogs of the great blog era.
So yeah, I saw the Boiler Room, Baraka Som Sistema did like, they literally introduced this genre. They're like, this is Zouk bass, it's a do genre, and here it is. And
they like gave a little speech before their set.
So
right?
like, I don't know, that was like, I was encouraged, or I felt drawn to it because of the wanting to be original and unique. And I'm like, whoa, I love this. And I want to be a part of it. I want to try to make it, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it was really quick because SoundCloud was such a cool community back then, and even like Facebook groups were really good back then.
Yeah.
So like it was just quick for me to find like a community of people. We were all making it and sharing it with each other and one-upping each other, but like weekly, you know, like we put out a new song every week, or like I would put out multiple songs a week sometimes, you know?
It's cool when you get those like petri dish kind of moments.
Yeah, it was that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the birth of a new sound, and all of a sudden everyone just goes crazy because every idea is a new idea, you know?
Exactly.
And those times are really rare and really exciting. I remember when Moombahton first started with Dave Nada and Nadastrom and all them, and it was a similar vibe.
Yeah.
You know, so much creativity, so many sounds and songs flying around. It was hard to even keep up with it. But yeah, man, some of those times were just the most exciting times.
Yeah, it's crazy how I wasn't really a part of that. Like I know all the history, you know, I know all the people now, like all really good homies of mine now, like everyone, but I was not a part of the initial like Moombahton thing.
I think that's all right though, man. I think, you know, you can kind of be the, whatever you want to call it, the next generation. You can be the person who takes it, because like you said, Moombahton kind of had a rise and fall, right?
Yeah.
And it was this big thing for a minute, and then trap came along or whatever happened, and it kind of had a downswing. And I think for it to come back in any form, somebody, aka you and a lot of your contemporaries, have to reinvent it. You know, it can't be the same thing that it was.
Totally. I think we're mostly inspired just by like we were talking about, like the sonic place that EDM's gotten to, you know? Like we're like, how do we play Moombahton now again? And part of it is make it louder, you know?
Right.
Honestly.
No, that makes sense. I mean, I guess that's an interesting question, is sort of how you see your place in the whole dance music world in 2018. Like for you, is it about sort of planting a flag for this sound and trying to give it more exposure? Or is it more about just your own creativity and kind of doing what you want to do in the moment? Or is it just about that original idea of combining things and kind of just hybridizing all these different styles?
Well, I think after Zouk bass, like I did like twerk music for a little while, and then I got really into ballet funk for a little while. And I kind of have like these creative like seasons or whatever. Like I like to really go in, like with ballet funk, I like studied it. I listened to it every day. I listened to new shit. I listened to old shit, and I like just was like, what's good about it? Why do I love it? How can I incorporate it into what I'm doing, basically? So I think I kind of just go through these seasons and shifts in creativity and inspiration where like I need new fire every once in a while, you know? So I think Moombahton, I tried to make it, like I said, like I wasn't good at it. And I was really good at Zouk bass, which was slower and more percussive-y and kind of like more triplet-y.
Yeah.
And then
stuttered rhythms.
Yeah. I guess it just kind of like came back around. Like I think I tried to go like to EDM at one point. Like I was just kind of like, I was younger than, obviously. I was like 24 at the time or whatever, and I did the Zouk bass thing. I did the twerk thing. I was playing some gigs, and I was like, what do I do next? Like, how do I thought like I was like, it was taking too long, I guess, you know?
Right.
Which is not true, but as
no,
you
but
learn,
it's easy to feel that frustration.
So I think I tried to go like kind of EDM when like I made some, I mean, I'd stand by all my music. Like I'm proud of it all, but I definitely like made some like more trappy stuff or, you know, house banger kind of thing.
Sure.
But then, yeah, so it all kind of came back around. Actually, when I moved to LA, pretty much because of the people here and like the ground, like you can do anything here if you just can find an audience for anything. So
yeah,
that was like, we started doing like global bass parties, just general. And I was playing a lot more ballet funk then. And like, Afro house kind of vibes. But like you start to realize you can play these old Moombahton records again and like Zouk bass even. Like I was playing a lot of Zouk bass again and I was like, oh shit, like building this scene is like what I love right now. Like I've always tried to put this kind of music on and like it finally clicked here.
Right.
In LA, by the way, that's where we are here.
Yeah. Well, is it important for you? I wonder, we were talking about the Keizo bus tour and like playing at these bigger festivals where it's, not necessarily a crowd that is familiar with these sounds. Is that a goal for you, is to kind of, build awareness of these sounds and bring more people in? Or is it more about kind of taking care of the people who want to be there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it can be both.
Yeah,
That's cool,
I think both. Like I want to bring awareness. I want to bring the sounds to a bigger stage. And also...
Well, I guess, not to cut you off, but how do you do that is more my question,
Yeah, well, yeah, like a lot of, like I said, like a lot of like changing it sonically, making it louder, putting dubstep sounds into Moombahton. I mean, they were already doing that with Moomba's core, Moomba's step kind of stuff. Right. But yeah, a lot of that, a lot of like big records that kids like doing bootlegs of them, like doing bootlegs of dubstep songs as Moombahton. Like it seems like a simple answer, but that's honestly a lot of what I do. I'm like, I didn't ever really think about it this way, but like I'm really trying here, like I'm really trying to bring in the people who, I don't like Moombahton. Like why not? Like you're just kind of saying that, you know?
No, and I mean I've always gotten that vibe from what you do, man, and I always like it, and it's just something I've always wondered about is how do you go to a crowd of people who are historically maybe not the most open-minded or open to new genres. I think dance music fans tend to stick to, their one genre of choice, that kind of thing. And I think that's a smart way to do it, man, is you sort of feed them something they're familiar with, use some similar sounds, use a familiar sample or a song even, and just flip it. I mean, I can remember plenty of times where I've heard a bootleg of a song or a remix flipped into another style that just completely turned my brain upside down,
Totally, same, yeah. And I'll do that with pop music too, like old throwbacks. I like always love playing old throwback hip hop, and like I've played Shaggy, It Wasn't Me. I've been playing that a lot.
God, I love that
and
song.
Like I play it, but like after something really familiar and before something a little less familiar, and just kind of like string these things, sew them together so that like, and if they don't like the next thing that's unfamiliar, like, oh shit, like, all right, throw on the fucking DJ Snake remix because like that they'll be back, like that's how I DJ. Like I'm watching and like
when you were DJing from the jump, it sounds like, so at least you have that ability to read the crowd and adjust if it's not working.
Yeah,
I always feel like having that solid DJ foundation does allow you to be just a little more experimental with what you do, a little more improvisational. And it's not because now, it's the kids are producers first and then they sort of figure out DJing as an afterthought, which is fine. But it is, for those of us who have the DJ background, I think that is one little advantage, is that we can kind of just try things out a little easier.
Yeah, and we have the know-how to like be ready for a change if we need to make it, or like being conscious of your time slot. Like things people complain about that, like maybe they don't matter that much, but I still put care into it. I remember there was a time where everyone was like, just go as hard as you can. Who fucking cares if you're opening? They should be able to da-da-da. But it's like, yes and no. Like you should kind of build it up and, be respectful. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Well, and it's not only about being respectful, but I think it's also having a better experience for yourself, because if you're the opening DJ playing at 7 p.m. and you're playing hard as nails dubstep, unless it's like an all dubstep show or something, it's not really what people walking into the building are going to want to hear to start their night.
They do want to hear it, and like you like take all the energy from the night, and it's like it's a night. It's not you DJing. Right. This isn't your like this isn't your American Idol audition. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, I think some people take it the wrong way, like up and comers. Like, you really, there are shortcuts, but they suck. So there's no shortcuts. Like, you're not going to go and open something and play all bangers and get signed the next day. Like,
yeah.
And you might have a better chance of playing again if you play a really great opening set. I'm not saying go soft. I'm not saying play music you don't like. I'm just saying, like, be conscious and aware of it.
Right. Well, and I think this is something that comes up on this podcast all the time, is any shortcut that you take is also probably going to be a shortcut to the end of your career. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
totally.
like you'll get some success off plenty of, kind of shady shortcuts, but it's not going to help you in the long run.
Yeah, I remember talking to Dave Nada, actually. We were playing a show in Canada. It was like a Mubuto Massive, actually, and I just kind of shit was starting to happen for me, and I helped out with the Major Lazer song "Light It Up." It was like a big moment for me in my career, and that's what helped me move to LA. But like that just happened, and like I was expecting more in my career. I was expecting like faster, like why isn't this all happening right now? And Dave Nada was just kind of, there's no like brilliant quote from him, but he's like, there's a lot of ups and downs. Like, that's how it is. It's all a wave, just be like ready for down points and be excited for the high points. And like that definitely, like, you have to keep that in mind.
And, it's, like you said, you felt that you had some success, and then there's that expectation that, okay, I'm good now.
Yeah, totally. Like, this is the thing that like launches,
Yeah.
There's no launch. You're constantly fueling this fire.
Yeah,
there's no
exactly.
like, you don't reach orbit. And I mean, I'm sure at one point you do, but
I don't even know if that's true, man.
Yeah,
I feel
true.
at all levels, it's just a constant sort of scrambling to like
totally. You're
keep climbing the mountain,
Yeah, you're right. You're like constantly fueling this. And that's why a lot of DJs do feel empty, and more so than other people, because you're pouring all your energy. You don't have a schedule. You don't have 9 to 5, and then at 5, I'm going to just go lay on the couch. Like, you either lay on the couch all day or you make music all day.
Right.
Both of those probably make you feel good, but which one will make you feel good tomorrow? It's maybe it was laying on the couch,
Well,
Fuck.
sure. But I mean, even if you make music all day, every day for months, and you get some little success off it, whatever, you still have to, this business always humbles you, right?
Right.
So it's like, after all that work, after that success, your reward is getting to do that more. You know?
And
like,
better and harder
right,
than the last time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's which I guess, put it when we talk about it that way, makes sense why a lot of us have anxiety. But fuck it, man. I mean, what else would we be doing? What was your experience? This is another connection you and I share that I'd forgotten about, is that we've both worked on some Major Lazer songs. What was your experience of that? How did that come about?
It was amazing, dude. It was like true, like, small town boy story. I just like, Diplo SoundCloud messaged me like, hey man, do you have Ableton? I'm like, no, I don't. I use Fruity Loops, but what the fuck is up? I'll fucking do anything. And yeah, he just sent me some stems, and he liked my Bubble Butt bootleg, which was like this kind of Zouk bass. It was a Zouk bass thing. Okay. So he's like, I want you to make it like similar to that. So yeah, I was still living like in my apartment where I went to college. I think I like graduated that fall semester, and it was like end of that semester.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like I got hit up out of the blue.
Yeah. Straight SoundCloud message.
Just like the highest I've ever felt. That's probably the highest moment of my life, even though I've played like huge festivals in front of millions of people, gotten so much different awesome views, but like at the point I was in my life, and that like Major Lazer was huge to me, man. Like,
yeah.
So,
well, and getting recognition from the musician community is a different thing than getting recognition from the public. You know?
Yeah.
But they're both great in their own ways. But yeah, those first few, cosigns and just bigger artists noticing what you're doing, it's so validating.
Yeah, it's probably too validating. It's like heroin. It's like, where's more? Like, and that's the thing. Like, that happened, and then there was like a whole year where the song. Like, I did the song and sent it, like, cool. And then there was like a whole year, I was like, oh, this isn't coming out, I was still I moved back home. Like, I was at home, and it's like, oh, this isn't coming out, fuck. And then it just did. Like, random, you know. But yeah, it was probably too much. Any kind of validation, it's so true. You have to fucking humble yourself because like the highs will bring lower lows, you know.
Right,
if you
exactly.
get too into it.
Exactly. And you know, the second you start gassing yourself up and really just getting an attitude about it, you've kind of already lost the bigger game, you know.
Oh, totally. Ego is like, that's a huge focus. I'm trying to, like, not until recently did I even really get what it meant, like, to not operate with your ego, you know. And that's one of the things, like, don't gas yourself up, like, don't have a second voice, like, be confident and proud of what you are, but there shouldn't be a second voice being like, you know, like, you're the best. Like,
well, right. I think for a lot of artists, I don't know if you're this way, but for me, you know, and I think it's sort of a stereotype of an artist is that you're sort of simultaneously really full of yourself and really insecure.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
And I get that, especially when I was starting out, I would get that all the time. I would feel like everyone was better than me, but also, why wasn't everyone giving me what I deserved?
I think we all secretly still feel that way.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I definitely get that. That's like the ego, though, obviously.
Right,
that's
exactly. I mean,
check.
And the truth is obviously somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And if, you know, we could all realize that, we'd probably be a lot more well-adjusted. But
yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
I mean, you're right, though. I think every artist does feel that way to a certain extent.
Yeah, because only you know your deepest intentions. And then
the real truth is that, I mean, art isn't better or worse than other art, you know?
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
You're
it's
right.
like I'm a person, you're a person, we do what we do, and it's unique to us because of who we are and our experiences in history.
Right.
Nobody else could make the art that you make or that I make or that Diplo makes or whoever. You know, everybody makes their own shit, and it's putting a value on it is sort of something external.
It's the EDM machine, man. That is something that clouds our vision because there is this like totally accessible platform to all of us where we're like, I just need to get plugged into this and then I'll be good. So like, how do I, you know, you do compare yourself to the people who there's people who started way after you,
right.
way after me. Like
right.
There's people who started years after I started who are way bigger than me. So you question like, what the fuck? I should have just made dubstep. God damn it. You know what I mean? So it's definitely like a constant struggle, and it's hard.
You know, if you had made dubstep, it wouldn't have been authentic, right? You know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it would. Fuck, I should have just made dubstep, man. Like, I think I would have.
Hey, there's still
I'm just
time.
saying. No, you're right though. I mean, it wasn't necessarily what I loved.
Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
I mean, you got to follow your instincts. And
I mean, that's the thing. I always wanted to be different. So if that's what I want, then it's gonna fucking take a long time because when you're different, you're not easily digested or.
But I mean, you were talking about the machine, right, and how we all plug into it in different ways, and that's something I wanted to talk to you about because you've worked with a bunch of different labels in our world. And are you still signed with Insomniac right now?
We signed a release, and we have another release coming. Yeah, so I'm signing individual records.
Okay,
with
you're
them.
doing singles with them.
Yeah.
I mean, how has that been? Just the labels. I guess talk about it in the macro and the micro, like the label system in general, and your experiences with it versus self-releasing and being independent, and then if you've kind of run into any specific either big things that helped you or stumbling blocks with labels?
Yeah, both. I mean, I've done a few. I did with Enchufada, I was doing Zouk Bass, which that was always good because it was like I was super honored to be on it, and like it was when I was just getting my balance in the music. So I was super. That was the best. It was like the audience that I wanted to be presented to, and that was a great experience. And like Matt Decent was always a huge goal, and Paul Devereaux, he loves like the weirdest music. You would never even get it. So
he's
definitely always had, he's always seen what I was doing, and I did like this ballet funk inspired EDM kind of record, and showed it to him. He's like, yeah, definitely down. So like that was another moment where I kind of got cloudy, and I was like, okay, once this Matt Decent thing comes out, it's gonna be fucking amazing, and that's all I need. So so it was like
I had the same.
It was almost a
experience.
whole year until that came out, like, and I was just kind of like, oh, I'm just waiting, and then it ended up coming out that's when they made Good Enough, and like I was one of the first releases on that, which is awesome. That's awesome. But like I set myself up a year in the future,
of course,
to like be like fucked, like myself. I fucked myself because I was like, I just got all these expectations, and that was like
Right.
a huge learning lesson in
You're
music.
right. I know exactly what you mean. It's like you're almost in your head living this other life that you think is gonna come.
Yeah, it's like I wish I could just like fast forward to
Right,
this time. Like,
exactly.
why? Like, huge learning experience. Like some of my first record label releases is like nothing. Even with the Major Lazer experience, same thing. Like nothing that happens is gonna be. You don't wait for that thing to happen. Like you work 10 times as hard until it happens.
Right.
You know. But yeah, with Insomniac and like that's been awesome. Just like the best team there, and they support me so much, and like it's helped me to like show my stuff to Insomniac events, which is in turn turn them more onto me, and like do more Insomniac festivals, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
it's been a huge great, and like we brought them my Never Squat Down EP, which is like Never Squat Down, Shake That with Malice, Never Squat Down with Unique, and then I did like a trappier song. But like those songs were weird, man. There was like a straight ballet funk, English ballet funk song.
Yeah, they're not like what you would think of as festival EDM songs.
And they were like down, and that was like amazing, man. That's so cool. So they're down for anything. They support me, and we're doing another song with Jen Morel, Tiguere, which is like awesome, like more dance hall, Moomba.
Oh, dope.
Spanish speaking, more poppy. Yeah, that's gonna be great. Keep an eye out for that for sure.
Yeah. You know, in the future, post that single, do you want to keep working, you know, with label? Like, where's your head at as far as how you want to put your music out?
Yeah, I'm honestly like working on. This is the first time I say it publicly, actually, but I'm working on like my own kind of like label, and I'm coming up with the idea more or less, and like getting ready. I don't want to jump the gun, and I don't want to just be another person who's like, I have a label now. Like now I'm just going to put my music out on my label.
Right.
And, like, because I do want to do that. I do want to kind of self-release and have control, but I also want to really provide something substantial and culturally impactful and all that shit.
Right.
So I'm working on it, and
that's awesome, man, because I think you'd be a great curator for that. Like I said, I think both to me and to the music community at large, you're known as a guy who just knows about this certain sector of global music, tropical music that we in the dance music world, I don't think have enough of. And I'm always happy that you can kind of be there to like show the way a little bit.
No, that means a lot, man, for real, because I'm just everybody else. I'm just trying to do the best, you know, and like that means a lot to me. For real.
Absolutely, man. Well, and you're right too. I'm glad that you said, you know, you're taking the time to get it right, to do it. Before we started recording, we were talking about podcasting, right? Yeah. And I was telling you how much time it took me before I started doing this just to like plan it and set it up.
Right.
But one of the inspirations, one of the things I realized is that you had actually done a podcast.
I did a podcast. I did like a few episodes.
Which I didn't find out until I was kind of prepping to do this one.
Yeah, exactly. Because I did it very hastily and definitely got overwhelmed with it at the point, like a few episodes in. So yeah.
You did what? One with Paul Devereaux,
UFO.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, you got to do one with UFO.
Yeah,
bro.
actually, Bro Safari was telling me the same thing.
Ed is amazing. Best dude.
He's a maniac, man. I love him.
I can't remember. I think I did one more. Maybe not. Maybe I just uploaded two.
Yeah.
But I did one with another person that never got uploaded. Yeah.
Was the idea kind of similar? Like just in turn, like what was the goal?
Yeah,
it was
like this. It was like talking.
Yeah.
I was inspired by Joe Rogan's podcast at the time. I was really into that at the time. And I was like, there should be something like this for music. I'm glad you're doing it because I stopped right away.
Yeah. No, for sure, man. It's
because I would like search like DJs or dance music or music even on Podcast Store, and there's like it's all
nothing. It's crazy,
obscure. Yeah. So this is awesome. This podcast is great.
Thank you, man. Yeah. And thank you for doing it, dude.
Yeah.
What else, beyond the new single with Insomniac and the new label TBD? What else should people be looking for? What else are you up to right now?
Some cool festivals this summer. EDC Vegas. I'm doing Dre's residency in Vegas also this summer.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Things are really starting to pick up. I got some cool shows this summer.
It seems like in the last maybe like 6 to 12 months that your buzz has really gone up a lot.
Honestly, I think last Coachella was kind of like my pinpoint moment for like the start of just like things really starting to matter, you know.
Do you think that's due to anything, or is it just sort of everything coming together?
Yeah, literally just extreme culmination of like, I feel such a hard amount of work has been put into this. So like I was doing the side party with the late night laggers plugged in, and I was doing, a little podcast and like just like all these little ideas that finally kind of picked everything up.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like there's maybe like a movement of people behind you now who are sort of
moving to LA too. Like throwing a party in LA was a huge part because, like I said, like this audience, this crowd, I love them. Like I really love these people. It's like a community, I'm not like. I mean, maybe I am more famous now to some of them, but like I don't feel famous as people. I feel like I'm throwing a party, and I know like, like they're like my friends almost, and like that was important, and I think it still is important. I throw the taco pop-ups in LA, like I literally make tacos and fucking serve them to my fans because like I really love it, and like the community just amazing.
Well, and I think the whole time we've been talking, it keeps coming back to that idea of community, right?
Totally.
And that you can't just do it on your own, and that, in those moments where we want something to happen and we expect it to happen, if we haven't, built the foundation of it in our community, then, it's probably not coming, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that finally happened.
It's been that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
It's been really cool to watch. I'm stoked to see what you're going to do in the next 6 to 12 months.
Me too, man.
Hell yeah. Is there anything else you want to cover? Anything we haven't talked about, man?
I feel like we could do this forever. But,
I know, I mean, we could keep going.
But no, it's cool. I think that we did a good one.
Yeah, we can come back to a part 2.
Oh, we definitely will. 6, 12 months from now.
Perfect, man. All right, dude. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, man. Peace.
All right, peace. All right, that's the show. Shout out to Gesture. Thank you for having me over, man. Great to catch up with you. To everybody out there listening, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget, Gesture's new single, Tiguere, is out right now on Insomniac Records. All the links to all of his new music, tour dates, everything is going to be in the description of this episode. My name is Willy Joy. You can hit me up, backtobackpod@gmail.com, or at backtobackpod, or at Willy Joy on all social media. That's it for this week. If you have SiriusXM, make sure you tune in to me every Wednesday night on Channel 52. Back-to-back radio, it's happening. It's going crazy. I got some more big news to tell you guys about next week, but I'm going to save it until then. So I hope everybody out there has a great week, a great weekend, and I will talk to you next Tuesday. For Back to Back, this is Willy Joy. Peace.